You are welcome to my class. Our topic for today is Chinese Remainder Theorem (CRT). Let's begin with our definition. If P and Q are coprimes and we have the two relations x is congruent to A modulo P and x is congruent to B modulo Q, then the Chinese Remainder Theorem says that the solution, which is x, is going to be congruent to AK plus BL modulo PQ, where K will be equal to K Q inverse of Q modulo P and L will be P inverse of P modulo Q. Let's take some examples. Solve the system of congruencies. X is congruent to 3 modulo 5 and X is congruent to 2 modulo 9. How do we solve this problem simultaneously? First of all, you're going to find your K and your L. And your K in this case will be 9 multiplying the inverse of 9 modulo 5, and which is 9 times 4. 4 is the inverse of 9, so that gives you 36. And to get L, it says 5 times the inverse of 5 modulo 9, and the inverse of 5 modulo 9 is 2, so 5 times 2 will give us 10. Therefore, the Chinese Remainder Theorem states that X, which is the solution, will be congruent to 3 times 36 plus 2 times 10, which will give us 108 plus 20, which is congruent to 38 modulo 45. Another example, to solve the system of congruencies, where x is congruent to 2 modulo 3, x is congruent to 3 modulo 5, and x is congruent to 2 modulo 7. Solution. In this case, you're going to find your k, your l, and your m, since we have 3 simultaneous problems here. So for your k, you have 35 times the inverse of 35. How did we get 35? You multiply 5 by 7. 5 times 7 gives you 35 times the inverse of 35 modulo 3. And that will give us 35 times 2, which is 70. To get our L is 21 times the inverse of 21 modulo 5, which will give us 21 times 1. So 1 is the inverse of 21 modulo 5. And 21 times 1 will give us 21. M is equal to 15 times the inverse of 15 modulo 7, and that will give us 15 times 1, which is 15. Therefore, the Chinese Remainder Theorem says that the solution x will be congruent to 2 times 70 plus 3 times 21 plus 2 times 15, which will give us 140 plus 63 plus 30, and that will be congruent to 233 modulo 105. Simplifying further, you're going to have that x is congruent to 23 modulo 105. Another example, to solve the system of congruencies, which is 743x is congruent to 16 modulo 13, 59x is congruent to 128 modulo 5, and 136x is congruent to 82 modulo 3. How do you solve this problem? The first step is to make sure you reduce your left-hand side into identity. And how do you do that? You multiply each of those terms on your left-hand side by its identity element in their respective modulo. And that will give us x is congruent to 8 modulo 13, x is congruent to 2 modulo 15, and x is congruent to 1 modulo 3. Now, in this case, you're going to find k, l, and m because we have 3 simultaneous problems here. And k will give us 15 times the inverse of 15 modulo 13, which is 15 times 7, which will give us 105. L in this case will give us 39 times the inverse of 39 modulo 5, and the inverse of 39 modulo 5 is 4, and 39 times 4 is 156. Now m will be equal to 65 times the inverse of 65 modulo 3, which will give us 65 times 2 equal to 130. However, the Chinese Remainder Theorem states that the solution x will be congruent to 8 times 105 plus 2 times 156 plus 1 times 130, and that will be equal to 840 plus 312 plus 130, and is congruent to 1282 modulo 195. So you're going to simplify further and you reduce it. You're going to have that x is congruent to 112 modulo 95. Thank you very much.